guys, I hope you're well. It is the 25th of April here in Australia. It's a public holiday and I have an abundance of free time this weekend, although I don't at the same time. I have some things planned, but throughout the days I'm pretty free, and I haven't spoken to you in a good while. I think it's been 2 months almost since I posted a video. Of course, I'm still very active on TikTok, but nevertheless, I haven't been here. And my friend Ben, who you all should be familiar with, if you haven't already checked out Ben's channel, do yourself a favor and head over there. Ben's been posting these update videos, which I've been quite inspired by, to just turn on the camera and talk, journal per se. So that's what I'm gonna start trying to do, just turn the camera on and talk to you guys as I go about what I'm reading, feeling, and try not to cut this too much. So yes, there'll be rambling, but maybe you'll get to know me slightly better. So that being said, what's been going on with you? I hope you're well. I've been well. I've been busy, and I've been a little bit lost, if I'm honest. I am leaving for a 10-week trip around Europe and the UK in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks tomorrow actually, which is very scary. It will be the first time I've been truly on my own for an extended period of time. But it's exciting and I'm very excited. I've got so many things planned to do with literature, and I'm feeling very inspired by that. I went through a period when I've stopped posting on YouTube just because I haven't been inspired. I felt burnt out, and I feel like the constant need to create was something that I felt really tremendously, and I stopped posting on TikTok for a few weeks because of that as well. But I've come back. I've been reading a lot. I've been writing a lot. So I've just felt inspired to create and make some videos. I've been filming a vlog, which should be up in the next week or so. And I think it's good for me to create when I have these bouts of inspiration. I'm not promising anything. I feel like it's hard to make promises that I'm going to create X amount and upload on a regimented schedule. I think, yes, I like having some direction and something to stick to, but at the same time I feel like I can get too hard on myself, and that's when I do end up in these slumps and these burnouts. But I have been reading. I have a big stack. I've been buying books a little bit more loosely. I've allowed myself to buy books even though I probably should have been saving a little bit more. But I feel like I could be spending my money on worse things as a 22-year-old man, especially here in Australia. So if I want to buy myself a little book and a little sweet treat and a coffee, I'm going to allow myself to do that, and that's what I have been doing. But I find having heaps on my TBR is nice, but also I find myself buying books when I get obsessed with a certain author, or I see something, I buy them, and then I forget about them for a little bit, and then some books can sit there, and then I'm sort of like, I wish I had have bought another book, or I wish I had that money to spend on this new person I'm obsessed with. But nevertheless, I do have a good stack of books, and I found myself, I've just been reading what I like. I feel like last year was a period of self-discovery in terms of what I like to read and getting to know my taste in literature, and now I feel like I can select books and pretty well like them most of the time. I find myself reading more books in which I am obsessed with, which is really nice, and that has a lot to do with people on the internet and friends I've made influencing my literature taste, and meeting people who are like-minded and things like that. So I have been reading a lot. I think I've read like 8 books this month, but I will do a full TBR reading wrap up maybe in the next week or so. But I did just finish a book the other day, maybe 4 days ago, and then I moved on to a new book. So I want to talk about those today. Pond, The Cost of Living by Deborah Levy being the first book. This is the second book in her autobiographical living series, and I love Deborah Levy. I've read August Blue and Things I Don't Want to Know, and then I moved on to this. I'm trying to savor them because I feel like these are gems, and there's not many of them around. Writers on writing is definitely one of my favorite genres. So when I started reading these, I decided that I was going to read them slowly and wait for that right time, if there is any right time. And a week ago, this felt like it was what I needed, and I was feeling very inspired to write. And I'm almost finished my first poetry collection. I'm about maybe a fifth through the way of my first novel. So I love writers on writing. And this is set in her 50s. The first things I don't want to know is set in her 40s. This her 50s, and the cost of living. What real estate is set in her 60s. This is set in the aftermath of her divorce with her husband and moving out on her own, and simultaneously having to write throughout this all. And it talks a lot about the interaction between males and females, and how males often imprison women, and women can go by not noticing this. She has many interactions in this book, which I found to be nothing new, but at the same time, life altering for me, because she just puts them in these. She phrases them in these ways where I just find my jaw on the floor, and I'm literally obsessed with her. And she's so funny. Like, who would expect someone to write such an iconic book with so much importance, but it be so witty and funny at the same time? Like, look at this. I literally underlined so much in this book. And I'm just gonna flick to a random page and read you something here. Truth is not always the most entertaining guest at the dinner table, and anyway, as duress suggests, we are always more unreal to ourselves than other people are. Spitting facts, Deborah. Deborah, you are spitting facts. Literally, the pages are falling out of this. I don't know what I did to it. It's beat, but I love it. I love the cover, everything in this. The way she writes is so elegant, and she doesn't need to say everything. She leaves room for the readers to interpret and imply and apply it to their own life. And I loved this. If you take anything from this video, it's that you need to get into Deborah Levy. I'm hoping to read Swimming Home and Hot Milk while I'm away in Europe, because I've heard that they're very European summery books. So if you've read those, let me know, because I think Deborah Levy's one of my favorite authors, so I'm excited to read more of her fiction. And I also have an arc for The Position of Spoons, which let me know if you've read it, because I might read that too, because it's on my Kindle, and I've decided to only take my Kindle away, which is sort of scaring me, but it is what it is. I then picked up Pond at the start of this week, another book Benjamin Journal has recommended. Ben dictates a lot of what I buy. I feel like we have very similar tastes, so when Ben thinks highly of a book, I tend to purchase it as well. Pond is by Claire Louise Bennett. I wasn't going to buy it. I went to the Taylor Swift concert, and then I went to Dimmicks, which is like a chain bookstore, and it's a ginormous bookstore in Melbourne City. And I went with my dad, and I said, I'm not going to buy anything. And then I saw this, and it was on my TBR that I wanted to purchase, and they had the Fitzcarraldo edition. It set me back a good penny. I think it set me back like 40 Australian dollars almost, which is ridiculous, but worth it. This book follows, if you don't already know, a woman who decides to move away to the countryside, to this cottage with a pond, and it is small vignettes of her daily life. It's almost like a journal. She goes off on tangents, and she loses her train of thoughts, and she circles back. It's very repetitious. It talks a lot about the beauty of the mundane. I find that I love to romanticize my life, and this book is pretty much her romanticizing her life, but not even trying to. She can be vulgar at times, and some parts of it almost seem a little bit unlikable, but I did enjoy this. Claire Louise Bennett, I will say, is very big brain energy. I'm looking forward to check out 19. Apparently it's a little bit easier to comprehend, but I found myself getting a little bit distracted reading these pages because it just required so much concentration. At points I thought I might use this as a book to read one or two small passages and then put it down. But then this morning I was sitting in bed and I had about 60 pages left, and I decided to finish it. I underlined a fair bit in this one as well. just small passages which just came out of nowhere, little gems. And yeah, Fitzcarraldo's always do such a beautiful job of their books. So when I saw it, as I said, I had to pick it up, and I'm glad I read it because I'd been thinking of going to it a few times. I'd picked it up, taken it out with me, intending to start it for the day, and then I never did, and I picked up something else. So that's something I am glad to have read now. Shelve it. There's just so many books I want to read, and I find like, sorry about that. I'm gonna have to put a few cuts in this. Of course, I live with my family, dogs. You know the deal. So, anywho's, yes, I've found myself reading a lot, and I've been so inspired, and I've been wanting to pick up so many different things. I might do a book haul tomorrow actually and upload that because I have bought a few books in the past 2 weeks, which I think you'd like to see. I've also been trying to find more poetry collections, so if you know any poetry recommendations while I'm in Europe to keep an eye out for to try and buy. I feel like poetry is really hard because you just sort of have to buy it to find out, but it's an investment because books cost money. And so, anywho's, yes, I've been wanting to read more poetry, but this, I really liked it. Small vignettes. If you want to like read a little bit, put it down, read something else, I feel like that'd be a good way to read it. Reading like a chapter a day or something. I feel like you should consume this book a little bit more slowly than others. I took about 4 days to read it. It's not a long book, it's like 180 pages in this edition. But yeah, that's what I read this week. I don't know what I'm going to read this weekend. I feel like I have a poetry collection there that I might get into. I've also been listening to a lot of Olivia Laing. I haven't read any Olivia Laing, but a few months ago I got in this deep fascination and rabbit hole with Derek Jarman, and then into Olivia Laing because she is obsessed with Derek Jarman. So I ended up buying a few of her books. I bought what's it called? The Lonely City, and I also bought Funny Weather Art in an Emergency. And part of me wanted to bring this to Europe, but then this morning I've sort of felt inspired to pick it up. It is a little bit longer, and I sort of wanted to read a few short books before I went to Europe. But maybe this is what I need this weekend. Maybe I can tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, really knuckle down and sink my teeth into this. That might be fun. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll update you as well and see what I end up choosing. I don't know if I'll read much more today. I'm gonna be a little bit busier. This morning I woke up slowly. Actually, I've been trying to be more gracious and gentle with myself. Usually I would go straight to the gym, not eat, and then come back, have something to eat, and get about my day. But I feel like that's been contributing to burnout. So this morning I woke up, I read for an hour, and then I went out, I had some toast and jam, watched a few videos, and finished Pond, and then I've come in here and it's almost midday, but I have time to go to the gym tonight. My beautiful friend Nathan is holding his gallery opening tonight. I've contributed to it with a few poems. There's a ginormous poem that's like 3 meters long hanging up on the wall, which of course I'll show you in the vlog. I'm excited, I'm nervous for that. So busy day, but it's been nice to talk to you and update you a little bit. I feel like there'll be trickles of updates of things that I've forgotten to fill you in on, but I like talking to you. I feel like we're friends, and here on YouTube, as I've said before, I love YouTube. I feel like the community around it is a much nicer place than on TikTok, and I like just being able to ramble on about books because you don't get that privilege on TikTok. People have short attention spans, and I found that now even when I'm watching videos, I'm trying to be more present in watching them rather than on my phone as I watch and things like that. So taking a second to film these videos, it's nice to slow down, and it's something I'm trying to get better at. But yeah, they're the books I've been reading this week. I hope you're well. I hope you're reading a lot, consuming, and you're inspired. So yeah, I'll see you soon.